What if I told you that millions of Canadian kids grew up eating lunches that would be banned in most schools today? No allergy warnings, no nutrition labels, just a metal tray, a lunch lady with a no-nonsense stare, and food that most of you have never even heard of. By the end of this video, you'll wonder how an entire generation survived lunchtime, and why none of it exists anymore. Picture Canada between the 1950s and the 1980s. No microwaves in the classroom, no vending machines stocked with energy drinks. Just long wooden tables, fluorescent lights buzzing overhead, and a cafeteria that smelled like boiled vegetables and warm bread every single day. Back then, school lunch wasn't about variety, it was about getting through the day. Whatever the cafeteria made, that's what you ate. No customizing. No, I don't like that. You sat down, you ate, and you went back to class. This was a different Canada. A simpler one. And the food tells the whole story. Let's start with the food that defined an entire era. Welfare stew, also known as mystery casserole in some provinces. It was whatever leftover meat and vegetables the kitchen had, combined, baked, and served without a second thought. Then there was the infamous pink milk day. Some schools dyed milk pink with strawberry syrup just to get kids to drink it. It wasn't healthy. It wasn't pretty. But kids loved it because it felt like a treat in a world with very few treats. And we can't forget brown bag Wednesdays. Days when the cafeteria simply didn't cook, and kids were expected to bring whatever their parents could pack, bologna sandwiches, an apple, maybe a thermos of soup. Lunch ladies weren't just cooks, they were authority figures. You didn't ask for seconds. You didn't complain about portions. If you didn't finish your plate, that was your problem, not the school's. Trays were metal, divided into sections, and scratched from decades of use. The sound of those trays sliding across tables is something an entire generation still remembers, a sound modern kids will never know. There was no options. One meal was served, and that was lunch for everyone, rich or poor, in nearly every classroom across the country. Depending on where you grew up in Canada, lunch looked completely different. In the Maritimes, fish was a lunchroom staple, sometimes literal fish cakes served alongside canned corn. In Quebec, some schools served simple meat pies, a nod to traditional tourtière, scaled down for a school budget. In Ontario and the prairies, casseroles ruled, anything that could stretch a small amount of meat into a full tray of food for hundreds of students. Compare this to school lunches today, allergy-free zones, nut-free tables, gluten-free options, calorie counts printed on every item. Choice. Variety. Customization. Back then, none of that existed. You ate what was given. No dietary accommodations. No alternatives. It sounds harsh by today's standards, but for millions of kids, it was simply normal. And here's the strange part, despite how basic, even bland, this food was, people who grew up eating it still talk about it with a strange kind of fondness. Why? Because it wasn't really about the food. It was about the moment. The noise of the cafeteria. The friends at the table. The predictability of a school day that, in hindsight, felt safe. By the late 1980s and into the 1990s, nutrition science, food safety regulations, and shifting parenting norms changed everything. Schools moved toward standardized meals, processed convenience foods, and eventually the health-conscious menus we see today. The era of mystery casseroles and pink milk quietly disappeared, and almost nobody noticed it happening in real time. If you ask anyone who grew up in that era, they won't describe the food as good. They'll describe it as theirs. It's strange how something so simple, a tray of food nobody chose, served by someone who didn't ask if you liked it, can become one of the most vivid memories of childhood. Maybe it's because those lunches represented something we don't have anymore, simplicity. No decisions to make. No options to compare. Just sitting down with friends, eating whatever was put in front of you, and somehow, that was enough. These foods disappeared not because they were bad, but because the world changed around them. Health standards improved. Choices expanded. And in gaining all of that, we quietly lost something that an entire generation didn't even realize they'd miss, until it was gone. So here's a question for you. If you grew up in this era, do you remember the smell of that cafeteria? The sound of that metal tray? The taste of something you haven't eaten in decades? Tell me in the comments, what's the one school lunch from your childhood you'd give anything to taste just one